because the closer they have right now, they were in need of a closer. Maybe not yesterday, but in general, Camilo Doval has been, I don't know if shaky's the right way to put it, but he hasn't been great this year.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously I'm kidding. I think Camilo Doval is going to be fine. I really do. Yesterday was, as it turned out, a tough spot. And Bob Melvin, I think, ended up, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Giants are up 13-2 going into the ninth inning. And it's a bullpen game, so you got three relievers left. You've got Doval, you've got Ryan Walker, you've got Randy Rodriguez. Ryan Walker had just thrown leveraged innings against the Angels the day before in Saturday's 4-3 loss. And Doval had not pitched in 3 days. He did not get to pitch in the Angels series up to that point. Obviously, there was a day off before that. So they want to keep him sharp. And Bob has a bit of a gamble to take, even though you're up by 11 runs. And that is, do I go to one of the other setup guys, even though they're a little bit tired, and we're about to go into, let's be real now, this is a 1-week road trip, but it's 3 plane flights, at least, right? You fly to Chicago, then you're going to fly to Birmingham, then you're going to fly to St. Louis. All of that's up. This is a big week for the Giants. It's also big because when they're done with it, I think they maybe get one more series with the Cubs, and then you get some big boys. You're getting Dodgers, Braves, and Guardians back to back to back. Giants need to have a good week. And so Bob's thinking about all of that. Which reliever do I use? Doval hasn't pitched very much. Let's do a keep him sharp type of an inning, even though we know when he comes in non-safe situations, it doesn't go really well. Well, the roll of the dice comes up snake eyes for multiple reasons. A, Doval gives up 4, messes up his confidence. And B, what do you end up having to do? Bring in the guy that you didn't want to have to bring in. So you had to bring in Ryan Walker anyway. So this went as poorly as it could have in a situation where you won a game and you're up by 11 runs and that's all fun and all of that stuff. It went as bad as it could, but I have a hard time coming down on Bob for this one because I get that spot, and the only thing I can think of if he really didn't want to use Walker and Rodriguez is, I guess it's probably a spot where you could have used a position player.
You could have, but you don't want to tinker when you have a big lead. Normally you go position player when you have a big deficit. I don't remember many times, if any time, that a team up by 10 or 11 runs goes that route.
You're right.
Because that becomes really risky. So you go with a position player, you go to Wisely, and let's just say that a guy who's not normally a pitcher starts getting cuffed around, and he gives up 5 or 6 hits, and he gives up 3 or 4 runs, and there's nobody out. Now you're in a spot where you got to go to one of these relievers anyway, and instead of being up 13-2, maybe now it's 13-6, and nobody's out, and now you have to really think about how do we go out and win this game. I just thought that he could have managed it a little bit differently earlier in the game and have Jelly pitch more than just the 1 inning, because you have Bivens goes in there and he goes 3.
He goes 3.
And after his 3rd inning, you get 9 runs in the bottom half. And so now you break the thing open, and you're taking Bivens out because that's as far as he's been stretched out. And that's fine. 3 innings. It's great. You go to Jelly, let him pitch more than just the 1 inning. I thought he could have done more to preserve other guys in the bullpen, and then you wouldn't have had to go to Doval.
Yeah, I wonder if you can look that. I mean, at that point, it's only the 5th inning.
Right. You're
so
up 9-2.
You know what I mean? I would imagine if I'm up 9-2, here's the way as a manager I want to play it. I've got 5 more innings to pitch. I don't want to use anybody for multiple innings because that keeps everybody on the table for the next day. You get a reliever who's going to go multiple innings, he's probably out for the next day. And you're playing the next 4 days in a row with 2 plane flights. This is a taxing week now, Monday through Thursday, for the Giants. You got 3 at Wrigley, including a day game, then a quick turnaround for the national game on Rickwood. It's a bullpen game. It messes with your bullpen. So everybody's going to pitch. What I don't want to do is start having guys go 2-3 innings, which takes them out of the possible rotation for the very next day, is my guess, is his thinking.
Right.
So how many guys can I get to go 1 inning? Well,
all of them.
All right. I got Jelly. I got Jackson. I got everybody with a last name of Rogers. And then I've got my 3 lockdown late inning guys. And Camilo hasn't pitched in 3 days. So, yeah, let's get him a little bit of exercise. I bet that was the thought process. It doesn't sound crazy. But it also ended up with your closer hucking a cooler in the dugout, which is not great.
And throwing his glove with his throwing arm. And, one of the fastest pitches he threw, that glove there was a lot of anger behind that glove throw. I just, in general, don't like seeing a closer go in when it's not a save situation. And I know he hadn't pitched in 3 days, and so you want to get him a little work, and I get that. But when you have a big lead, for me, I guess the way I would approach it, and I'm not a big league manager, but I would be more apt to think about having a guy like Jelly go 3 and 4 innings, even though that takes him out. He's a guy who can be your long man. Let him go eat 3 or 4 innings, and then you save all the rest of those guys. They don't even have to go in there. The Rogers and Doval, none of them would have to pitch at all.
I get it. I really do. This is one of those situations, this is going to sound silly. It's a mistake because it didn't work.
Right.
But
Always.
I don't feel like he was really taking a big risk. Why would you think that that's taking a risk? I've got Doval. You're up by 11. I want him to get a sweat going. What's the risk? What's the worst thing that could happen? Nobody in the world would think the Angels lineup, good God, Joe Adell got a hit. Do you know how awful Joe Adell is? Did you watch him swing? Joe Adell is, if Jorge Soler was twice as bad. That's Joe Adell. He's got 12 homers. I think it's the only 12 times he's actually connected with the ball. He swings and misses at everything, in every at-bat. And he got a hit.
Yeah.
Who the hell thought that would happen? There's nobody in that Angels lineup.
Yet they took 2 of 3.
Oh, dude, this is a bad weekend.
No, and
This is a bad weekend.
You could say there's no one in that Angels lineup, but they took it to the Giants Friday and Saturday.
The Giants.
You were out there.
I was there. Saturday was an incredibly frustrating game to watch.
Game, yeah.
I don't necessarily put that one on the pitching because you lost 4-3.
It was a walk, an error, and a and a bloop.
If you ask me where the Giants lost that game, the Giants lost that game in the inning where they went up 3-1 and had runners at second and third with nobody out and did not get any more runs.
Been a lot of that this year.
And Jorge Soler is the at-bat that I'm looking at because I think somebody, I can't remember, somebody hit a looping liner or a ground ball right at someone, and so, okay, you don't score there. And then here comes someone who, again, is supposed to be your middle of the order. He's only a bat. He doesn't play in the field. Bases loaded, 1 out, and you could put your watch to it. The whole stadium felt like he was going to strike out, and he did. And I know he's had much better at-bats recently and obviously had a great day yesterday. So that's wonderful to see. I'm not 100% out on Jorge Soler, but he is frustrating right now. And I was sitting amongst fans who were giving him the business after some of these at-bats.
Home fans?
Yes,
Man.
There's just too many at-bats with runners on base where he can't even put it in play with pop. I didn't need you to hit a home run. Can you fly out to center?
Right. Gets it done.
And I know that's easier said than done, but you have to get another run in that situation. And then you leave, you're only up 3-1. Next thing you know, a half inning later, that kid, Ohapi, I think is his name, is a young catcher. He's a good-looking player. He didn't hit a home run. He hit a bomb.
Like 470, I think.
Dude,
he
crushed that ball. That thing was heading toward the glove. He killed it. And the next thing you know, it's 3-3.
Tie game, yeah.
And you're like, we've been winning this whole game. The second Ramos hits a first-inning homer, you're like, okay, last night you shake that off. You had a weird inning. You had a bad start from Spencer Howard. You had a cool comeback attempt. 8-0 game turns into an 8-6 loss. Now you got it going. You're the better team. Then you lose that game.
Yeah.
And now you're just like, what the hell? And that's what I mean. You won a game 13-6, and you walked out of that weekend, I think, feeling crappy.
Yeah.
You lost 2 or 3 to the Angels. Your closer's hucking things off of a cooler.
When you opened up on Sunday, you gave up runs in the first 2 innings, and it felt like, holy crap, are we going to get swept by the Angels at home?
And Kyle Harrison's on the injured list.
Right.
That's not a good weekend.
It was all bad. It was all bad, and then it turned around with a nice little story from Bivens and one 30-minute inning.
You got Bivens and you got a win, But that doesn't equal losing a series to the Angels, your closer's kicking a cooler, and Kyle Harrison's not pitching for 2 weeks. That's a bad weekend.
Yeah, a bad homestand where you go 3-3 against two of the worst teams in the American League.
No doubt.
And you only muster a 3-3. And you're right, we talked about this stretch before, and the next 10 games are against wild card competitors. Chicago, St. Louis, and Chicago again.
Wild card competitors. Well, that's everybody.
Exactly.
Right.
But
not great teams, but
these are teams that you have to be better than if you want to be a wild card team.
Here's what I'd say about, this is if you really want to catch all for the San Francisco Giants right now. Not an excuse, no sympathy, but here's the deal. I believe that this team went into spring training thinking, all right, if we didn't really, yes, you had some free agent offensive players, Soler, Chapman, okay? You didn't get Shohei Ohtani. You clearly, it's not like you looked at that lineup, even if things had gone better. You don't look at that lineup and think Dodgers or Padres. You still don't have that kind of a middle of the order. So, is your offense going to be better? You hope so. But I think the Giants went in, they swaggered into this season going, dude, we are going to have a pitching staff. And they don't.
Right.
Because most of them are hurt. And so they have built a team that is based on pitching that doesn't have pitching. So all you can do at this point is hope that you can hanging around until you have a pitching staff again. But let's be real. With Kyle Harrison joining the group, you now have 4 of your supposed top 6 starters are not there. They're not there. You have Webb and you have Hicks. And that's it. And so you got to duct tape this thing and hope that at some point come the month of July that pitching staff looks a lot more like the pitching staff it was supposed to. And at that point, we can go, all right, do you actually stink or do you have some action? They've got to hang around until then. And I'll give them that. They got 4 starters hurt. And the biggest name of the bunch, even when he did pitch because he missed spring training or whatever, was a total disappointment. So not an excuse, but that's their path. They've got to,
24th in the league in ERA right now.
That's right. Their pitching staff has been a wild disappointment.
Exactly. And, when you get Snell back and Robbie Ray, and if Cobb ever can make it and Harrison gets over the ankle, yeah, you're going to have an embarrassment of riches. If all these guys start humming and taking the ball every 5th day and you lock in on guys who can get you 6 or more innings, Logan Webb's been rock solid all year and Hicks has been a great surprise, then yeah, you can definitely hang around in the National League because you mentioned it and I said, oh yeah, 2 teams that you're competing with in the wild card, and that is virtually everyone in the National League outside of Colorado and Miami. There's a game and a half between the Padres, the Nationals, and the Mets, and there's 8 teams in between. Everybody winning percentages of 500, 2 at 493, 2 at 486, 2 at 479, a 472, and a 471. That's your National League muck.
I was going to say, I didn't even realize the Mets were
there.
Well, they've won 5 in a row. I didn't realize that. They're terrible. The Mets are an absolute dumpster fire.
And they're a game and a half out of the card.
They're a game behind the Giants.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the same record in the loss column.
The Cardinals suddenly, after being terrible for the majority of the year, they're now the second wild card.
The number 2 wild card.
Right. So,
but still not a winning record. None of those teams that you just mentioned have a winning record. None of them.
The Cardinals are exactly at 500.
It's the Braves and the 3 division leaders. That's that 4 teams with a winning record.
So as far as hanging around goes, even if they go 3-7 over these next 10, they're still right in the thick of it.
They're still right in the thick of it, but it
does get tough with the other upcoming opponents, and they have been bad this year against the good teams.
They have, but the only good news I get, if it's a week and a half away, maybe they do have another. Maybe Snell's ready to go. Maybe at some point in those series, Kyle Harrison is ready to pitch. I don't even know exactly where Cobb is. Tristan Beck is still out there. By the way, I said 4 of their top 6. It's actually 5 of their top 7. I completely forgot about Robbie Ray.
Yeah.
There is an entire starting rotation on the injured list. Ray, Cobb, Snell, Harrison, Beck. Oh, that's not a bad starting rotation. It's all on the injured list.
Yeah.
So that stinks. And that's yeah. They're based on pitching and they have no pitching. There's my one sentence review of Giants baseball so far this year. They're going to need to get better. They're going to need to get healthy.